In this video, we'll look at how you can format a Word file for use with Respondus 4. Respondus 4 is a test creator and test converter that will let you either build a test that can be understood by Blackboard, or take questions from a properly formatted Word file and pull them into Respondus so that it can then put them again into your Blackboard. The idea here is that this process can be somewhat less time-consuming than building a test directly into Blackboard. So the hope is that using this process and formatting files properly and then using Respondus will help to make your life a little bit easier as you make a test. So the first part of using Respondus to generate a test, if you have a test that already exists, is to format your test in a way that Blackboard can understand it. This same approach can also be used if you are building a test from scratch. In that case, all you would need to do is build your questions using this formatting and then take that file and run it through Respondus. If you are working with a test that's already prepared, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of it is already formatted in a way that Respondus will be able to understand. So I have on my screen here a small test that I would have my students do, and you can see that most of the formatting looks pretty much like you would expect a typical test to look like. So for a test that you're going to run through Respondus, there are a couple things that have to be in place for the questions to be understandable by the program. The first one is that each question needs a number in front of it, and those numbers need to be sequential. So we can see here that I've got question 1 followed by 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pretty standard, but with Respondus you do want to be sure that every question does have a number and that they are sequential. Even if you are using different types of questions, it needs to know what order they go in and that each one is distinct from the other questions. With number, Respondus also requires that there be either a period or a closing bracket right after the number, followed by a space, and then the question text. So you just want to be really sure about that formatting so that Respondus is able to understand it. So that is, each question has a number, followed by a period or a closing bracket, and then a space before the question text. So that's pretty straightforward. And a similar thing is true of the answers. So we can see here that I have a true-false question and a multiple choice question here. And each of those has the answers started with a letter. That letter also has to have either a period or a closing bracket after it, followed by a space, and then the answer that's associated with it. So the same kind of formatting for the questions, except in this case we're using an A, B, C, D to designate what the answers are. And you can, for instance, with the multiple choice, you can do more than A, B, C, D. If you have 10 possible answers, you can certainly put that in. That's not a problem. Another thing to be aware of as you are working with questions is that if you're working with any questions that are perhaps a little bit more complex or out of the ordinary in Blackboard, they do have to be designated within the file by type. So you can see up here that with my true-false and my multiple choice question, I haven't had to designate what those questions are. Respondus is able to understand the true-false and the multiple choice without telling it specifically that those are the questions that you're working with. But with some of these other question types, it does need to know what question types you're working with. So for this first question here, we have a multiple response question, which is going to have more than one answer. We've got a matching type question, where something in a column is going to be matched with something in a different column. And then we have a short answer question and an essay question. And for each of these questions, I've had to designate their type before I even start with the question. And to do that, you're just going to type out type, followed by a colon, a space, and then the type of question. So for multiple response, that's going to be MR. For matching type, that's going to be MT. For short answer, that's going to be an S, and for essay, that's going to be an E. One thing that is different if you are taking an already existing test and putting it into Respondus for conversion to go into Blackboard is that Respondus needs to know what the correct answers for your questions are so that when that test winds up in Blackboard, the system can automatically grade the questions for you. This is easy to designate. All you have to do with Respondus is put an asterisk in front of the correct answer or answers to the questions. With my true-false question here, my correct answer is going to be true. With my multiple choice, the correct answer is B. With the multiple response option, there is more than one answer, so I'm going to mark B and D as correct by putting the asterisk in front of the correct responses. With matching type, because of how the question is constructed with the A column and the B column matched up in the question itself, I don't actually have to designate a correct answer for this one because it's built into the question itself. And then if we come down here and if we have a look at both the short answer and the essay questions, which are treated very similarly, there is an answer that's included here, but because there is only one answer, I don't have to designate that as correct. It's implicated in the question itself. And the reason why there is an answer here for a question that is short answer or essay is that these answers will be given to students as part of their feedback if that is part of the test deployment settings that you use when you put your test out into the world. So these are not going to be visible to students until the test is over and unless that setting has been checked as part of the test options.